Okay. We have Augusta Supple, who is coming from Australia, and yesterday she had a very nice conference. Now we are in a less formal setting, and we would like to ask her to introduce herself, to tell her about her interests, and about her special visit to Romania.
Thank you so much for hosting me and for the very generous warm welcome and for including me on one of the most popular stands, I think, here at Book Fair. Whenever I've been walking past, it's been full, and so it's been a very exciting time. Thank you so much for hosting me. My name's Augusta Supple, as Vasily has mentioned, and I am visiting from Sydney, Australia via Leipzig in Germany. And I'm on my way to Utrecht shortly. I'm doing my first European tour. Usually I spend a lot of time in the USA and in Canada doing different things, mainly around theatre and also publishing. But I'm an editor, and I have a small publishing house that was established in 2023 called Vitagraph Publishing. Vitagraph is really a joke word that comes from Beckett, and it means life writing, and it was set up with me and 3 other friends, the distinguished Professor Anthony Ullman of Western Sydney University, Dr. Bill Dunbar, who is a technical writer of literature and the first person to win the medal for Australian literature at University of Sydney, and Dr. Benjamin Muir, who is also a punk rock singer but also a man of letters and a doctor in literature. So, and then there's me. And I guess the reason why there's me is the fact that I am a feminist writer and playwright. I also write a lot for the Romanian and Australian anthology, which is Mihaela Cristescu's publication. But my focus is really on festivals and ways that people can connect with literature. My first love will always be theatre, so Vasily, I'm very excited to see that you've written and published some plays for children and young audiences, which I think is the perfect way to introduce young people into the exciting world of words that are active and activated. I also have plays that I've written for a company in Canada, which is called Seasoned Singers, and also they've been performed at the Boston Youth Theatre as well in Boston, Massachusetts. So we have that in common, which is quite nice. And so yes, so it's a lovely sort of synergy, and I know so much about you from your esteemed colleague Mihaela Cristescu, and also from the previous visiting Australian author Dr. Luke Carman, who was here, I think that was in 2023. But yes, it's lovely to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Well, I'm glad that you have shown such enthusiasm for this book of children's short plays, and that can give me the idea of translating it into English and sending the book to you so that you may read it, and perhaps, I don't know, maybe use it in schools or theaters or somewhere. Okay. Can you please go into details about your artistic or professional work?
Absolutely. Today I have rushed from the Bucharest Playhouse, where I've spent today with 10 playwrights developing a new play. So first half of the day was a workshop, and then in the second half we were crafting a play. And a part of my professional creative life is getting writers to work with each other instead of in competitive settings, getting them to collaborate and spark ideas off each other. So I have a background as a jazz musician, and so because of that, I like the idea that there is a formal structure that is in place, and then what happens is you can play with that. So you can sort of adjust and shift when playing with the idea of what theatre is, which is not only to see but also to hear. So riffing on different ideas or images or echoing different phrases that might pop up in a play, getting the writers to write in tandem but also in response to each other as a call and response. So I like to think of all of the that sort of theatre practice as an extension of my sort of musical ear, but thinking always about how the writer is the creator of worlds and how important it is to be able to access the inner world as well as a sort of external world and address ideas around conflict and tension, which I think theatre does really well. Beyond sort of building a beautiful scene, it can be also a place of great action and activity.
I know that you're also the director of a periodical publication. Can you please go into details with that too?
Absolutely. So Vitagraph Publishing started Written Off, which is every 6 months we publish a literary journal which has essays, stories and also short works in it. That journal is really in response to a rising feeling that there is a conservatism within Australian literature in particular. And within that conservatism, perhaps there is a certain expectation about what writers are expected to write and how they're to be engaging with culture or their ideas. So in a sort of grand statement to sort of shift things forward, we've created Written Off with the idea that there are a couple of things happening with it. One is that it's a place for established writers to experiment with new ways of writing, so that they're not just stuck into what people expect them to be writing, but also a place where emerging writers might get their first chance to be introduced to the Australian literary scene. A core part of it, though, is that all writers, regardless of their level of fame or infamy or experience, are all paid the same amount. So it doesn't matter if they write a little or a lot, it doesn't matter if they're famous or they're not, they all get paid the same amount of money. And one of my great honours is to find ways in which I can drum up support, not just through the purchasing of a publication, but through philanthropists, through government support as well, which I'm not sure if there is an equivalency here in Romania, but there is local, state and federal government funding, which is usually available for basically pitches and for funding into literature. So I think I've just finished my 5th funding application for this year, so 5th in 5 months, to advocating to the government to support writers through our publication. And for me, that's a really important part of elevating and honouring the skill that it takes to be a writer and the time to write. I like to tell philanthropists that if they would buy me a lunch or buy me a coffee, instead they should donate to my publication and get a subscription and get a tax deduction because of it instead, so that can go on and actually reach many writers, not just feed me or buy me a whiskey. You can actually help support another writer, which I think is really important. So even today was lovely at the Playhouse Bucharest. There was an advertisement saying, oh yes, international playwright Augusta Supple is here to do a workshop. Please make a donation of, I think it was 100, is it lei? Yeah, lei. 100 lei. And they all paid a lot, and then at the end they went to present it to me and I said, no, you put this back into the theatre, make sure that the costumes are better, like better for your next show, invest in yourselves, make some more time for yourselves so that you can continue playwriting. And to my knowledge, I think it started in 2003, the Bucharest Playhouse, and they've never had a playwriting workshop before, so this was a totally new, untested. I think they've done a lot of Shakespeare, and Shakespeare needs no more advertisements as far as I'm concerned. He's very, very famous and is fine, but I really wanted to hear what the Romanian consciousness sounded like here, and the best way to do that, I think, is to have a workshop with writers who don't really know what they're about to be doing. I think that's really exciting. It's exciting for me anyway.
And what do you think about that workshop? Did it come out well? Was everything okay? What was the, the message you got from it?
You know, I was just, I've had a few friends in Australia say, what happened in this workshop? Like, what was happening with these playwrights in Romania? What were they writing about? And so I've been frantically messaging back home. I'm not sure if you know this place, but there's a big building that used to be a workshop, like a big print workshop, which is not too far away from here. It's about 5 minutes walk. And so it was held in here in this sort of, I think there's a fencing school and there's a few little media companies inside it. Do you know what I'm talking about? The big building?
I have an idea, yes.
Okay, so that's where they're based. So we're walking through this big marble sort of building, but I end up walking into this light-filled room, this beautiful room, like beautifully presented room, which is such a shock because the rest of it's quite scary, and supposedly a lot of horror movies are filmed there. And we sat down and I led them through a process. And the process that came out is that we decided we would set a play in the square, in the University Square, where yesterday I saw a protest being set up and lots of young people eating Hungry Jacks and the big statues of people on horseback and everything. So this sort of really contrasting layers of history and identity happening. The central theme that kept coming out across the whole 6 hours today was the yearning for a sense of freedom. Financial freedom, creative freedom, freedom from family, freedom from social expectation. This idea that perhaps Romanians feel a little bit constricted or trapped by their society or their social circumstance. And looking out the window of the Bucharest Playhouse is this beautiful building that still has some of the communist emblems in it, the star and I think the sickle and the hammer or whatever. And so this sort of looming large sort of history of communism sitting alongside this young people sort of trying to make sense of what it means to be living in Bucharest. And yesterday, before we had lunch, I was sitting with a stranger who I started talking to because he could speak English, and he said, I said, oh, you know, tell me about Romania. And he was like, well, so many Romanians leave, like there's not many reason for people to stay. They go, I think they go west, and then when they're older they come back. And I said, oh, like you? And he said, yeah, we come back with a little bit of money in our pocket and then we set up a little business and we do something here. And so there's this sort of idea, I think, about Bucharest being in a state of becoming, but also being quite conscious of its cultural past and its political past as well. And I find that a fascinating situation to be in, because as a nation for Australia, as an island on the other side of the world, we have a very different sense and very different connection to history. We don't have monuments that are more than 200 years old. So it's a really different sense of carrying on a tradition of resilience So yesterday in the square, when the music struck up and Maria was trying to explain to me, I said, "What is this song?" And she was like, "Oh, this is our wartime song." And I said, "Is this your anthem?" And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "Is this what they play at the Olympics when you win a gold medal?" And then she told me about your swimmer that won the gold medal, and I looked him up and he looked very fit. And yeah, it was just this really interesting sort of these ideas of Romanian resilience and strength, despite what happens, that there is a fortitude to move on, and I found that really interesting.
Absolutely, thank you very much. What other nice things have you done or seen or experienced in Bucharest these 2 or 3 days?
So I arrived on Friday at 1 p.m. I think meeting you and also the wonderful Michaela as well. Thank you so much for hosting and for being so generous and getting me coffee all the time. I really appreciate the coffee. You're so kind and very elegant. I think the people are the most important thing for me here. I also got taken on a tour by Maria. She took me to like a cheese shop, and I got to eat all of the different cheeses. So cheese of the sheep, cheese of the goat, cheese of the cow. And to communicate with me, the cheese people made the sounds of the animals for me so I could understand which cheese was coming from. I think having a breakfast that is largely cheese and also ham is kind of unusual for Australians, where we're sort of egg and bacon people. We're not necessarily as exciting as that. Going to the market and the supermarket and the hypermarket, I think is very funny as well. That was an interesting cultural experience. And Maria has done nothing but feed me the whole time. So I'm leaving. I was warned by Mihaela Cristescu and her husband that I would end up very fat and go back to Australia very fat after being in Romania because the food is so good. I have had a lot of Ciuc beer, but I've had no Romanian wine as yet. So I will have to taste it. I leave tonight at 2 a.m. so I've got 8 hours left in your city. So we'll see what other adventures I can have. But I have to say that I have experienced more cabbage in this last 36 hours than I've ever eaten in my entire life, and great hospitality and generosity and very warm openness about what it means to be Romanian, which I have found so arresting. At the end of the play today, because I always like the writers to leave, like I like to sort of end on a song. And one of the writers had put in a song that I put on the table. I found it on my Spotify and put it on the table as our last moment. And it was John Denver's Take Me Home Country Road. And so we've just had this huge play that we've just read out, which is about freedom and identity and a yearning for a better future. And then this song by John Denver starts playing. And all of the playwrights, who I swear were born after the year 2000, they're all young people, like maybe some 90s people in there as well, but all sort of between the ages of 20 and 30, are sitting around this table, young Romanians, singing Take Me Home Country Road. And I'm just sitting there, tearing up, thinking, this is so moving and so strange. Very bizarre, but also quite beautiful as well. So my impressions of Bucharest, even though I've been sort of leaning out of windows and taking photos of the Arc de Triomphe and whatever it is, and the trees and the lake, and the taxi driver is talking to me only in Romanian. I have no idea what he's saying. It has been such a memorable experience, and I just want to thank you, and also the wonderful Mihaela for Cristescu for facilitating, and for the kindness of Michaela and yourself to host me here at Bookfest. Thank you.
Don't mention it. Well, you have mentioned Maria a few times. Let's say that she is Mihaela Cristescu's daughter. She chose to remain in Romania and study here and become a professional here, while her mother and father went to Australia together with her brother. And we would like to invite Maria over here.
Yay!
So Maria, what is your impression of our friend here? Has she made any trouble for you? Has she brought you joy?
Hello everybody, it's a pleasure for me to be here. It was really a pleasure to have here the guest Augusta, and I liked it very much, and I hope she liked Romania, and I'm very happy that I could meet her, and she's very friendly, very talkative. She wants to meet new people, and this was very she is a very kind person, and I hope she will come back in Romania, because she stayed a few days, and I invite her to visit Romania for a long time, because I have so many things to show her, so many food to taste, and we hope we will see each other soon, and we will keep in touch. Thank you. I want to thank my mom, because she thought me to help Augusta see the Bucharest, see Romania, and I love her very much.
Thank you very much, Maria. So when are you planning to come back to us, and what would be the main reason for your next visit?
Well, I hope to come back soon, and I have to say thank you, Maria. You've been an amazing ambassador for your country, as well as to your mother, and also to the city. You have shown me so many traditional foods. I'm well and truly fat and feeling very happy with that. So thank you so much. I look forward to our last few hours of eating together. I hope to come back in maybe within the next year. I have promised the Bucharest Playhouse, they have got a lot of students who want to learn playwriting, and I said that I would come back and help them with that. But I'd also like to sort of understand a little bit more about how publishing works, and how there might be an exchange between Vitagraph Publishing, written off, and also work in Romania. So how do we work with translation? How might we work with exchange of writers between Australia and Romania? How can we help support the amazing work that Mihaela does as a cultural ambassador for Romania and for Romanian writers? How do we keep that going, and also maybe expand and extend that? But yeah, hopefully in the next year. I've been really impressed by the city.
Well, I would advance the idea of our possible cooperation, Vitagraph and Coresi, so that we can, I don't know, get into a few projects together, maybe books, maybe authors' visits from one country to the other, international workshops, maybe even online, and let's, if you agree with me, let's think of a plan of action, and I'll come with some ideas, you put forward your ideas, and in the end I'm sure that something good will come out of this.
I'm sure also. That sounds really good. Let's keep the conversation going, and we'll have a plan of action. That sounds good.
Thank you very much, Augusta.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maria.